Welcome to Goodspeed. Now today we're not going to the Opera House, we're going to learn how to fly, or at least take the first lesson at the Goodspeed Airport. It's with a company called Learn to Fly CT. It's a fairly new company that's growing and growing.
We started back in 2018 with one aircraft over at the Wyndham Airport. We expanded in January of 2020 to the Hartford Brainerd Airport, and then earlier in 2021 we started down here at the Goodspeed Airport. And we now have eight aircraft, 14 flight instructors, and a flight simulator at our Hartford location.
That's Philip Smith, Chief Flight Instructor and the owner of Learn to Fly CT. Students can come right here to the Goodspeed Airport and go up in a plane with an instructor on the first day of lessons.
For us, we offer an intro flight for, it's a 45-minute flight time, and it's $135 plus tax.
That's not bad.
People can send us an email, they can purchase a gift certificate right directly from our website, and then we'll schedule it at any of our locations.
So $135 gets me up in the air?
Correct. And it'll get you 45 minutes of loggable flight time. We'll actually give you a introductory flight logbook, pilot logbook, and that flight time will count towards a pilot certificate in the future.
Sounds good to me. Let's get in a plane.
So this is a 1981 Land Rover Defender, which is going to tow the seaplane to the Connecticut River, and then we're going to get in the seaplane and fly it. Ay, ay, ay.
They tow the plane into the Connecticut River.
Yeah, so we definitely want to avoid stuff like that.
We hop on board, and before you know it, we're up and away. We just took off from the Connecticut River, not on land. How cool is that? The views from above the river are gorgeous, and we fly at about 90 miles per hour up and down the river.
Just as easily one of the most picturesque airports in New England.
Look at the landscape with the fall foliage. Isn't it amazing up here?
Who comes out for these classes? Who is the average? Is there a typical?
There's not necessarily an average. There's for an average student. We have
male,
students,
female.
We have everybody.
Everybody.
We have students from. I think we've had the youngest student that was about 8 years old. Now they're not actively working on a pilot certificate, but they went up for an introductory flight lesson. Students all the way in their 60s, 70s, 80s. So the whole wealth of age range.
And listen to this.
At 16 years old, they can fly solo. So when they're flying solo, they still can't fly with any passengers or anything.
Okay.
But they can fly themselves and go up and do traffic pattern work or go up and do flight maneuvers, get themselves prepared for their final test. At the age of 17 years old, though, a student can legally rent an aircraft or buy an aircraft for that matter, and they could legally fly that aircraft with 3 or 4 passengers, 3 or 4 friends or family members down to Block Island and get what we call a $100 cheeseburger and fly back before they would ever legally be able to have those 3 friends in the same vehicle with them and on the road.
And how long does it take for me to get that pilot certificate?
Generally, some students are able to complete it in a couple months, on average about 4 months. It depends on how often you're taking a flight lesson. For a student scheduling 1 lesson a week or 1 lesson every other week, it's going to take at least a year to get the pilot certificate. For a student scheduling 2 to 3 lessons a week, then it's anywhere from 4 to 6 months to complete the training.
And people love this.
They do. People love it. It's you have to be careful because a lot of people when they go on that intro flight, a lot of people get the bug, what we call the aviation bug, and once you get the bug, it's very hard to lose it because it's tried and true Americana.
And it's safe.
It's safe, absolutely. These aircraft go through multiple inspections every single year. Every aircraft in the United States needs to have what's called an annual inspection, where the entire aircraft and engine and airframe is all inspected. And then if it's available for instruction, like our planes are, then they also need to have what's called a 100-hour inspection. So for every 100 hours that the engine is in operation, the aircraft goes through a 100-hour inspection, which is literally a 100-hour or an annual inspection that happens every 100 hours.
Excellent.
So they're constantly being maintained.
Okay, sounds good. And just in case you're thinking, hey, is this expensive to do?
We're actively working on some grants right now through the FAA that if we're able to get them, we'll be able to issue some FAA piloting scholarships to high school students throughout the state. And we're working on a program which we're calling our Green Aviation Initiative, which is designed to reduce the cost of training for pilots so that we can try to impact this national shortage of pilots across the country.
Our flight comes to an end as we land back on the Connecticut River nice and smoothly. Philip loves what he does and hopes you'll take a lesson with his company.
I see my job as not just as a flight instructor anymore, but as a promoter for general aviation in the state of Connecticut, trying to really open the eyes to students when it comes to all the different possibilities in the aviation industry. And not just when it comes to piloting. There's mechanics, A&P mechanics, airframe and power plant, air traffic control. There's a whole wealth of industries within the aviation field that are all hurting for people right now.